Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here taking the latest research and really your most pressing financial questions and turning them into knowledge you can use right away. Today, we're diving deep into, well, the whole new landscape of financial security. Artificial intelligence has just fundamentally changed the rules of the game here.
It really has. AI isn't just, a helpful tool anymore. It's actually being weaponized.
Yeah.
We're going to explore everything from these incredibly sophisticated scams that are, frankly, getting harder and harder to spot,
Right.
to the kind of subtle everyday privacy risks that are baked into the chatbots and finance tools lots of us are starting to use.
And we really have to start with just how serious this is. I mean, looking at the numbers you shared earlier, they're genuinely staggering. Cyber fraud hitting record losses, $16.6 billion in 2024.
A truly terrifying figure. And what's maybe even more concerning is the speed of the increase. That's a 33% jump just from 2023.
Not 1 year.
Exactly. And the experts were all saying the same thing. Nobody is immune to this. The sophistication is just climbing so fast that, honestly, the defenses that worked maybe last year, they're just not holding up now.
Okay, so let's really unpack this. Our mission today is kind of twofold, right? First, how AI is weaponizing trust, making these scams seem perfect. And second, how it's creating these new, maybe less obvious security blind spots through the tools we're actually trying to use for help. And crucially, we want to give you concrete defense strategies, things you can put into action immediately. So let's jump right into that core problem, the AI weapon. We've seen this huge surge in bank impersonation scams. We were all taught, look for the bad grammar, the weird links, but AI seems designed to just wipe those tells away. It triggers panic, not skepticism.
That's precisely it. And what's really interesting, or maybe worrying, is that the scammers have sort of learned what we were taught. They used to rely on volumes, clumsy execution. Now they use generative AI. It drafts communications that are, well, they're virtually indistinguishable from the real thing.
So no more looking for spelling mistakes or odd phrasing.
Nope. Those are gone. The language is perfect. They use the right logos.
Right.
The emails, the texts, they just look incredibly polished,
Yeah.
very professional.
And it's not just about looking right, is it? They're using these high-tech tactics now to build instant credibility. We're hearing about them spoofing local branch phone numbers.
Yeah.
So the caller ID actually shows your bank's name,
Yeah.
which is scary enough. But then the really chilling part, referencing a recent real transaction you actually made, how do they do that?
This is where it gets really insidious. It's not AI guessing. It's AI using data from all those massive breaches we hear about. So a scammer takes a little piece of leaked info, say you spent roughly X amount at a certain type of store 2 weeks ago.
Right.
They feed that into a large language model, an LLM, and the model instantly spits out a personalized script. Something like, "Hi, we're calling about an unusual transaction attempt following your recent $350 purchase at the electronics store."
Oh, wow.
It sounds exactly like someone inside the bank who sees your latest activity.
That just immediately makes it feel legitimate. It cuts through any initial doubt you might have.
Exactly. And that's the psychological hijack. They are now actively exploiting the very awareness campaigns banks spent years and millions promoting.
So the advice to act quickly.
They've turned it against us. Banks taught us. See an alert, react right away. Urgency is key.
They weaponized the urgency itself.
Perfectly put. People's normal thinking process gets bypassed because the message looks so perfect, sounds so urgent, panic kicks in, right? And it just overrides that analytical part of your brain. They're using your own responsible instincts against you.
Okay, so if the old red flags, the grammar, the slightly off look, if those are basically gone, we need a whole new defensive playbook.
Yeah.
What's the new baseline? What should immediately raise suspicion when you get an unsolicited contact?
The number one red flag that still holds true, and this is absolutely critical, is that emergency request, the urgent language. Legitimate banks, they very rarely demand immediate, complex action through an unsolicited call or text, especially not for security issues where you need to act now.
Right, they usually have processes.
Exactly. So if a message uses fear, intense pressure, or some kind of looming deadline to rush you, that's your biggest clue. It's a scammer trying to push you before your rational brain catches up.
And the second big warning sign you mentioned is about how they ask you to handle the money.
Right.
Even if the impersonation is good, the request itself is often bizarre.
Yes. The request suddenly pivots into something absurd. No real bank, no legitimate financial institution is ever going to call you out of the blue and say, okay, to secure your funds, you need to go withdraw a cashier's check for $200,000, and then we'll tell you where to deposit it.
A $200,000 cashier's check?
Right.
I mean, you almost have to admire the sheer nerve, even while you're horrified. But that's an extreme example, maybe.
It is extreme, but it shows the pattern. Requests to pull out large amounts of physical cash, demands to go find a Bitcoin ATM.
Bitcoin ATMs, really.
Oh, yes. Or insisting you transfer funds to some strange temporary holding account. If the action they want you to take feels way outside normal banking procedure, just stop. Shut down the conversation.
Okay, let's talk text messages. They seem like a really common channel for these urgent alerts. Is there a quick technical check that still works for texts?
Yes, and it's actually pretty effective. Most fraudulent texts come from regular, 10-digit phone numbers.
Yeah.
Looks like it could be anyone's cell number.
Right.
Legitimate banks, credit card companies, they almost always use a dedicated 5-digit short code for their official alerts.
A 5-digit short code. Okay, that's tangible, easy to spot.
If it comes from a standard phone number, the odds are very, very high. It's not your bank.
That's a really practical tip. But let's talk about the ultimate rule, the golden rule that kind of overrides everything else. If you have any doubt at all, email, text, phone call, whatever, hang up, and the interaction. And call the number printed on the back of your physical debit or credit card.
That is the absolute best verification step, because if the issue is real, your bank will have a record of it when you call them directly through that trusted number. They won't rely on you trusting a number someone just gave you in a suspicious message.
But wait a second. If they've already got me panicked thinking my money is about to vanish, won't I be scared to hang up? Don't scammers try to keep you on the line, tell you not to call the official number?
Oh, absolutely they do. That's a key part of the pressure tactic. They'll say things like, if you hang up now, we can't protect your account. Or your funds will be lost if you disconnect.
Might create that fear of loss.
Or even, the fraudster might be listening, you need to stay on this line with us. It's all designed to stop you from doing your own check. But the counter instinct has to be, no legitimate security process ever requires me to skip my own due diligence.
That's a good way to put it.
If hanging up really means losing my money, then frankly the bank has bigger problems. But if the bank is legitimate, hanging up to call the official number is always, always the safe move.
Which brings us back to maybe the biggest hurdle in all this.
Yeah.
Like what you call the overconfidence blind spot.
Exactly. You're trying to warn people who fundamentally don't believe they could be the victim. People think, oh, I'm too smart for that, or I follow the news, I know about scams, or I'd spot the grammar errors.
But the grammar errors are gone now.
Precisely. That overconfidence creates this huge vulnerability that these perfectly crafted AI scams just exploit expertly. It really doesn't matter how financially savvy or tech literate you think you are. We hear stories constantly.
Yeah.
Chief financial officers, tech executives, people who should know better, still falling victim when that panic button gets pushed just right.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about the direct attacks, the scams. Now let's look at a more passive risk, something that comes from the tools we're actually choosing to use. Generative AI chatbots. The adoption rate is pretty high, isn't it? Something like nearly half of Americans are already using or thinking about using these LLMs, these large language models, for personal finance.
That's right. People are asking for help with budgeting, retirement planning, even asking AI to analyze complex financial documents. The convenience is obviously appealing.
But there's a trade-off.
A huge one, a fundamental privacy trade-off that I don't think everyone fully grasps yet. When you chat with an AI about your finances, unlike talking to a human advisor where there are confidentiality rules, that AI chat session is logged, it's stored. Potentially indefinitely.
Logged and stored. How is that different from, say, filling out a secure form on my bank's website? That gets stored too, presumably.
It's different because of how it can be accessed and what protections apply, or rather don't apply. Those logs held by the AI company, they can be exposed through data breaches of the AI vendor itself.
Okay, that's a risk.
They can potentially be accessed via integrated APIs, meaning other apps connected to the chatbot might get visibility into that sensitive data. And critically, they can be accessed through legal processes, subpoenas, court orders. The bottom line is, nothing you type into these general consumer AI chats about your money is protected by the same strict privacy rules as your actual bank data. You really have to treat every single chat like a public log. Assume it could be seen.
Assume it's public. That's a stark warning.
Yeah.
And beyond just the privacy, what about the quality of the financial advice these things are giving out? They're great at summarizing, sure, but personal finance is nuanced.
It absolutely is. And there are real limitations, especially when it comes to handling numbers accurately and understanding context. There was research out of MIT, actually, that found these general LLMs, they need very specific, specialized financial training modules to give decent advice.
Specialized training.
Right. Without that, they consistently fall short of, say, professional certification standards. And here's the real kicker. They are known to be prone to misinterpreting numerical data, making mistakes with numbers.
Misinterpreting numbers in finance sounds potentially disastrous.
It can be. Think about it. An incorrect budget forecast, a misunderstood tax rule, a flawed analysis of how your investments are doing because it didn't grasp the input correctly. If the LLM gets the numbers wrong or misinterprets a trend and you act on that bad advice, you could suffer actual real financial losses.
So human judgment is still essential. You can't just blindly trust the output.
Absolutely essential, especially to catch those occasional what they call numerical hallucinations where the AI just gets the math or the implication wrong.
Okay, so given the permanent logging risk, the privacy issues, and the potential for flawed advice, we have to be incredibly careful about what data we actually feed these models. It's less about basic security rules, maybe, and more about identifying, as you put it, the 5 data points that create a catastrophic single point of failure if they end up in an LLM log.
That is exactly the right way to frame it. When you put irreplaceable, highly concentrated personal information into a permanent, potentially accessible log, you're basically creating a honeypot, an irresistible target for bad actors.
So let's break down those 5 critical data points. Number 1, the most obvious keys to everything.
Right. Number 1, login credentials and passwords. Never, ever type these into a chat interface. It sounds basic, but people might get tempted. Ask the AI to help draft an email that includes a password, or even try to use the chat log as a lazy way to store them.
Don't do that.
Definitely don't. These are the literal keys to your financial kingdom. If that chat log gets compromised by hackers, by a malicious insider at the AI company you've just handed over access, use a dedicated encrypted password manager, use two-factor authentication.
Makes sense. Okay, what's number 2? The identifiers that actually control the money flow.
Exactly. Number 2, bank account numbers and investment account numbers. Never input these directly. These numbers authorize transfers, allow deep dives into your financial structure, and crucially, within that chat environment, they aren't protected by banking-level encryption.
So they're just sitting there in the log.
Pretty much. If harvested, they can be used for fraud, unauthorized transfers, identity theft. You're essentially creating a permanent digital map of your financial plumbing for anyone who gets access to that log.
Okay. Number 3, the piece of information that, if lost, is incredibly hard, if not impossible, to fix.
That's your social security number or equivalent national ID. This is foundational to your identity, and unlike a password, you can't easily change it if it's exposed. The moment your SSN enters that chat log, it's there, permanently, and it's incredibly valuable on the dark web.
What can they do with it?
Combine it with other bits of data they find, commit extensive identity theft, open new credit lines in your name, file fake tax returns to steal your refund, and remember the subpoena risk. Government agencies could potentially request these logs too.
That permanence is really the scary part there.
Okay.
So how can we still use AI for analysis? Like if I want help with my budget without giving away the farm?
That comes down to disciplined prompt sanitization, which leads to number 4. Never enter your full name, address, and date of birth together into the chat. Why those specifically? Because those 3 pieces of data are often enough for criminals to triangulate who you are, where you live, and target you very effectively.
More scams.
For highly personalized phishing attacks, very convincing scams, even in extreme cases, things like physical stalking. So if you want budget advice, sanitize the prompt, use hypothetical data, make it anonymous.
Give me an example.
Instead of saying, I'm Joe Doe, born May 1st, 1988, living at a 123 Main Cent, and I make $90, help me budget, say, a 35-year-old person living in a major city with an income of $90,000 needs advice on retirement savings. Remove the specific identifiers.
Got it. Separate the financial question from the personal identity.
Exactly. And that brings us to number 5. Avoid uploading detailed tax and financial documents.
Like actual PDFs of pay stubs or tax returns.
Yeah, precisely. Pay stubs, W-2s, 1099s, full tax returns, brokerage statements showing all your holdings. Uploading these documents directly into the chat exposes your precise earnings, your debts, your investment gains, everything.
And the risk there isn't just standard identity theft.
It goes beyond that. Yes, identity theft is a risk. But that detailed financial picture could also be used for blackmail or for crafting incredibly sophisticated social engineering attacks targeting you, or maybe even family members or colleagues whose details might be inferred from those documents.
Okay, that's a very clear and, frankly, quite sobering list.
Mhm.
Let's try to recap the main takeaways here. We've really established two massive shifts today, haven't we? First, AI has just completely changed the fraud game. It's ramped up the sophistication to a level where scams look almost perfect.
Mm-hmm. Eliminating those old, easy to spot flaws.
And second, at the same time, the very tools we might turn to for help these AI chatbots have introduced a whole new privacy vulnerability, making our sensitive financial data potentially exposed in these permanent chat logs.
That sums it up well. And the key takeaway for defense, really, is that your best strategies now are behavioral, not just technical. Set up legitimate account alerts directly with your bank so you know what real communication looks like. Use strong, unique passwords in 2FA. And, critically, always consult a trusted human, a spouse, a friend, a real financial advisor, or, at the very least, verify independently using the number on your card before acting on any urgent financial request that comes out of the blue.
Pause before you panic.
Exactly. Take that breath. Step away from the panic button. Knowledge is only powerful if you apply it calmly.
Okay, so maybe a final thought for our listeners to mull over as they navigate this new reality. It seems the core defense against this era of AI-driven fraud isn't just about better technology or spotting tiny flaws anymore. It's maybe more about shifting our own mindset, that mindset of overconfidence. The moment you truly accept that anyone, even the smartest, most careful person, can fall victim when their panic response is triggered this effectively. Maybe that recognition that humility is actually your first and strongest line of defense.
I think that's absolutely right. Acknowledging the vulnerability is the first step to building a real defense.